A very bright classmate of mine asked me how I made a moving infographic video I used for an assignment. I'll start by showing you the very beginning of my presentation and then show how I made it. If you don't want to watch the video, skip ahead 28 seconds from now. This video presents a course plan to teach teachers about using branching scenarios for instruction. But first, a short history lesson. Over 100 years ago, a boy juiced a skunk. Not the entire skunk, just the stink sack part of the skunk. Then he put the juice into an unattended paint can being used to refinish his high school's radiators. I made 90% of this presentation in PowerPoint, but these features are common to other programs that have slides. Knowing I was going to take a detour with the Tyler story, I wanted to start by visually depicting a course plan in a branching scenario. This is the image I used for the plan. My hope was that even if you didn't know what a football play looks like, the clipboard would clue you in on the fact that it was a plan. A lot of the time, branching scenarios are plotted using rectangles as stand-ins for the scenario pages, so I started by having the team on offense represented by colorful rectangles instead of the usual circles. To insert a shape in PowerPoint, click on Insert at the top of the screen, Shapes, and whatever shape you want, in this case rectangles. I gave them all black outlines for uniformity, which you can do by selecting the shape you want to change, then clicking on Shape Format on the top of your screen, Shape Outline, and the black color. Filling in the rectangle is a similar process. Select the shape, Shape Format, but this time click Shape Fill. For my rectangles, I used the More Fill colors and stuck to standard colors, but you can use custom colors too. If you're trying to stick to a color scheme, after clicking Color Fill, choose the eyedropper, go anywhere on the screen displaying the color you want to match, and click on it. Pretty cool, right? I kept the shapes the same size by selecting the first one I made and copying it. You can do this by typing Ctrl-C to copy and Ctrl-V to paste, or you can right-click on the shape and select Copy, and then right-click anywhere else on the screen and select Paste. You can drag your rectangles around to line them up. PowerPoint has these handy guides that help you match height, width, and spacing based on other objects on the screen. All of the arrows are standard shapes in PowerPoint. They can link up to the sides and corners of rectangles or other objects, or you can anchor them anywhere by just clicking on a point on the screen. Keep holding down after you click and move your cursor. Wherever you stop holding down, that's where the end point of the arrow will be. I finished the image off here with a big clipboard for the play to be presented on, a little football, and the opposite team. All of these images are free icons from PowerPoint, but you can find something similar on the internet or make your own by combining other shapes. I found these by going to Insert, Picture, Stock Images, and Icons. Then you can search for whatever you're after. To add a little interest, I added wipe entrances for the arrows in the football. An entrance is a type of animation that can be found by clicking Animations at the top of the screen. With one or more object highlighted, click Add Animation. You can view, edit, arrange, and time your effects in the Animations pane. So then I wanted the boxes to rearrange themselves into an order more reminiscent of a branching scenario. I created a new slide by clicking on Home at the top of the screen and then New Slide. I deleted out the preset title and content text boxes, and then I pasted in my rectangle team from my first slide. I had to click and drag them into the positions that I thought would look good. When I had them all arranged, I used the snipping tool to take an image of them all lined up the way I wanted. You can do something similar with print screen or some other screen capturing tool. So now what I've done is create the base for my third slide. Now I'm going to go back to the first slide and add another new slide. Into this slide, I'll paste the snipped image of all the boxes arranged how I want them to be. Then I copy and paste the team from slide 1. Now I need to add motion paths to each box to bring it into position. Motion paths are another type of animation. Click on Animations, Add Animation, and scroll to the bottom. I used straight line motion paths. I went to the bottom of the motion path shown on the slide and clicked on the red endpoint and dragged it until it overlapped with the location I wanted the box to be on in the next slide. I did this for all the rectangles and then copied and pasted in the title text box. Because I didn't want to draw attention to the fact that I was losing the opposite team and the clipboard, I used a fade transition. I did this by clicking on Transitions at the top of the screen and Fade. This way, any image not carried over from the first slide won't disappear abruptly. I generally use fade transitions unless I want to draw attention to a change, similar to how my normal entrance animation is fade for any object coming in on a slide. With the slide arranged, I delete out the snipped image. Then going on to the third slide, I add my branching choice arrows. These are arrows just like I used for the football play. By setting the wipe to appear from the bottom, it gives the sense of moving along the arrow through the choice options. To add an old-timey feel for the story, I used a gradient sepia background. You can do this in master slides, or you can set the box as a background, but I just left it as an object on the slide. I added a rectangle shape, dragged it to fill the entire slide, and changed the shape outline to sepia. I did this by going to Custom Color and pasted in the color number based on what I found after a Google search. Then I went to Shape Fill and filled it with sepia from the recently used color options. I went to Shape Fill, Gradient, and more gradient options. I set the gradient to be light in the middle and dark around the edges, and fiddled with the gradient bars. For these first slides, I liked the darker look, but later, when smaller green shapes are being used, I changed to a lighter gradient. On this first story slide, each word has its own text box because I find individual boxes easier to position and animate. I made one text box first, and searched fonts until I found one that looked like a movie poster from the 1940s. I copied the box and pasted it twice for the other two words, then went into the font colors to find a nice light green, reminiscent of cartoon stink lines. Each text box has a faded entrance animation. Now this is important. You can time your PowerPoint slides perfectly to your narration, or you can give each animation big breaks between them that you'll edit out in a video editor. I tend to favor editing to narration in the video editor, but some slides with overlapping effects can be timed in PowerPoint. The skunk image swapping with the text can be done in a few different ways. Video editor transitions can do that, but I just added a downward motion path to the words and the skunk, dragging the skunk path in word ending positions until they looked right to me. The stink sack marker is made with an oval shape taken from the same menu as the rectangles I've been using. Ovals can be as wide, thin, or long or short as you want, but if you want the shape to stay a circle, hold down Shift, click and hold some point on the slide, and then drag out to expand. The circle can be resized later. On this circle, I set the fill to no fill. I changed the outline color to the same green I used earlier and increased the thickness of the line by selecting Outline and Weight. In the actual story, Ralph Tyler had collected the stink juice for scientific study because he was curious. He just happened on the paint can on his way home and couldn't pass by a chance like that. So I wanted to show the liquid filling up a beaker. But on my first couple of searches, I didn't come up with a free and easy icon for beaker or vial. So I made my own with a rectangle and a circle that I merged by selecting both shapes and then selecting Merge Shapes Union. I toyed with the idea of having a no-fill object with a black outline that would be an empty beaker that would later be filled up, but I didn't want to bother, so I just made one that was filled with the same green I've been using. To make it look like it was filling up, I used a wipe entrance animation. This next slide transition is one I haven't talked about yet. It's called a morph. Morphs carry over a used image from the prior slide. So I duplicated the skunk slide, deleted out the skunk in the circle, and deleted the entrance animation on the flask. To add a little interest, I changed the fill color to a gradient and increased the size of the flask, before positioning it on the left side of the slide. To tip the flask, I added a rotation emphasis animation, and changed it from 360 degrees to just 90. I used a wipe exit animation to make it look like the flask was draining. The paint can is an icon I found by searching PowerPoint. The green halo effect I created by adding a shape effect to it. To do this, go to Shape Format at the top of your screen, Shape Effects, and Glow. I wanted the green stink color So I went to more glow colors and chose the green from recent color options. Then I overlapped the green glowing copy on top of the original paint can icon and added a fade entrance. So after the flask drains, the green color shows up. With all of my images, transitions, and animations set, I exported a video by going to File at the top of the screen, Export, Create a Video, and Create Video. The video will take a little while to export. Be sure to watch it after it has exported because sometimes odd glitches can occur. This is why I don't put audio into PowerPoint and edit the video in a separate video editor so I can take out anything odd. For this video, I used Shotcut. It's not the most robust video editor, but it's free and it has a lot of good tutorials on YouTube. I named my video after the class assignment and clicked Start. After selecting Playlist, I dragged and dropped the media I needed into Shotcut. Because I needed to cut the video to match the script, I inserted an audio track by right-clicking on the timeline and selecting Add Audio Track. I dragged the MP4 video file and the MP3 narration file down into the timeline and lined them up. You can set them wherever you want to, but I recommend leaving a little blank space before either one begins. I then locked the audio track because I already edited it in Audacity and didn't want to cut anything out by mistake. Then I used the clip tool to split the film strip and used the right-click plus remove to take out chunks of the video until they matched the narration. I can make another video later about how I added fades, zooms, and masks in Shotcut, but there's really so many great videos out there. So that's how I did it. There are a million great ways to make a video infographic, and this is just one of them. Have a great day and keep learning.